Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and you are listening to A Better Way with Kirsten Kimbra podcast. Or maybe you are watching it on YouTube, in which case, please hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a video from me. And if you're listening to it on Spotify or iTunes, Apple Podcasts, then please share this podcast with others too. Leave me a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be very much appreciated because that way more people will find this podcast. Another thing, I definitely want to invite you to join my Fit and Fueled Facebook group if you are not in there yet. This is a great group. We share some wins, we share some recipes, some meal tracking tips, fitness tips. I've done stretching videos there lately, all the good things. So just today I shared some photos, some progress photos from one of my clients who has made great progress in 18 weeks. So I like to inspire people like that and share stuff there too. So I really hope that you join this group. If you're not a member yet, this is a private group, so you are required to answer a couple of questions before you can join, but I'm sure you can do it. So these are the couple of things that I want to start with before we get started with today's podcast. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Today's topic is going to be some cool things that I've noticed about women and strength training recently. And of course, I've been talking about women and strength training so much on this podcast, and you might be thinking, okay, what's new? Is it going to be the same stuff again? But actually, no. I'm going to share a couple of cool experiences, some things that I've noticed in my own gym, and then also I'm going to share with you today a really cool article that I read in a magazine, in a really old magazine. I found it last weekend. So this story is from 1982. So it's pretty cool. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tips if you are newer to lifting, or maybe you have some experience, but you don't quite know what you should do. So lots of good things coming up on this episode. All right. So first, I want to share with you an observation. And this is something cool that I've been noticing in my gym. So my gym, I absolutely love it. It's great and it's big. It's really big and it has similar rooms there. And three are kind of the main rooms there. One is the one with squat racks. So there's 8 squat racks in this room. And then the next one is where all the machines and dumbbells are. And then, of course, the third one is the cardio section where you can find all the treadmills and rowers and ellipticals and stairmasters and so on. And one day when I was there last week, I was doing barbell back squats and I was in the room that has 8 squat racks. And I looked around me and I saw that out of these 8 squat racks, 5 were used by women and everybody was doing back squat, barbell back squats. 3 of them were open, nobody using them. And then there's one lady, one girl doing hip thrusts, also barbell hip thrusts, and then one guy who's working on his pull-ups. So out of 8 squat racks, 5 were used by women. Everybody was doing back squats. One girl was doing hip thrusts. And I was looking around myself and I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And this is definitely something that you wouldn't have seen even just 10 years ago. And I personally would not have been in this room 10 years ago. I would have been like, I don't know what to do here. Or I could maybe know a few things what to do because I did have track and field background. So I've done a little bit of it, but I had no idea what to really do in this section of the room, how to actually lift. And what was really cool was that, yes, there were like 6 women working hard and everybody's forms was so good. I was really amazed by how awesome it looked. They were doing like deep squats with heavy weights on their backs and their form was really great. And so this is something that I notice actually often with women, that their form tends to be really, really good. And this is not to say that guys don't have good form. Of course, there are some people, some guys whose form is excellent too. But sometimes I do notice that maybe men tend to focus more on the weight, right? But that they can put on the bar. And, I've seen things like, let's do bench press and let's put like 7 plates on both sides and then have 2 spotters. Well, this is not actually what we want to do. But what I'm noticing about women is that most of us seem to really emphasize the form. And I think as women in general, I'm more like, okay, I want to learn this well. I want to make sure that I don't get hurt. I want to make sure that I'm as good as I, can when I'm performing this exercise. So I think this is why we put so much focus on the form too, and it's been really, really cool to see. So that moment at the gym last week was just really cool when I looked around myself and was like, oh my God, this is something that I don't think would have been happening even just 10 years ago, when more women were definitely taking up all the space in the cardio room. And again, I often say, I always say that I don't think cardio is bad. I just don't think that this is what we should do if we have body composition change goals. If cardio is something that you're competing in, you're running marathons, or you are, I don't know, in some other ways you need that type of endurance and that type of strength, then by all means, of course, do it, and you have to do it. But if we want to change our body composition and if we want to enjoy better health, I have personally also noticed that it has improved my hormonal health for sure, like lifting instead of doing so much cardio. If we want to get these things and if we want to see these changes, and most commonly what women really want is to change their body composition, that doesn't come from cardio. We probably already know that. So what we need to do is lift weights and lift heavy weights, not just tiny little weights. They won't actually help you a whole lot. Unless you're a beginner, then sure, start there. But what really changes the body composition and the ability to lose body fat and gives us the shape, and these are things that most women want, this stuff will happen in that back squat room, right? With all the squat racks. This is where most of the magic happens. Of course, in the kitchen too, you got to eat well to get these things. But when we talk about strength training specifically, heavy weights are something that we have to use more often. And I think it's getting, the message is getting a little bit stronger that heavy weights don't make you big and bulky. This is still a lot of fear. Sometimes that women are telling me about. Sometimes when I talk to a new person or read their intake form, they say, I want to shape my body, but I don't want to get bulky. And honestly, it's for you to get bulky, it takes a lot more work than what you're probably currently doing. It probably takes some special supplementation, if you know what I mean. It takes some more advanced tools for you to get big and bulky. So women, go lift weights, get in that room in the gym where you can see the squat racks and get familiar with this stuff, because this is where really your results come from for the most part. Okay, so this was a really cool observation. The next thing that I want to talk about when it comes to women and weightlifting is this old magazine article that I found last weekend. So here's a little bit of backstory. So we were away last weekend. We took a weekend off and did like a little road trip, and we went to South Arizona and stayed in a really small town. But one day we also visited a little town called Bisbee. It's a really cute town. So if you've never been there and if you ever end up in Arizona, go check it out. It's near Mexico border and it's super cute. It's an old mining town. It has a lot of cute like galleries and bakeries and thrift shops also. So we walked around Bisbee a little bit, and then we found this thrift shop. Actually, I've been there once before too, and I found something really cool there. And on the table, the store, there was a Life magazine from October 1982. And on the cover, and this is what caught my attention, was Arnold, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then this lady who I didn't know, but then I read her name is Sandal Bergman, I believe. I'm really not so much into movies, and I'm not super familiar with actors and actresses, and even like these days like music. I just say I don't know much about it, but obviously I know who Arnold is, and there's this lady on the cover with him, and then they both. I'm looking at this picture now. They both have dumbbells in their hands. They're flexing their muscles. Arnold obviously has his massive biceps and showing, and then this lady is wearing like this cute little blue and red swimsuit, bathing suit, and she's also flexing her muscles, and she looks pretty impressive, very impressive actually. And so this, of course, caught my eye. I was like, "What is this about?" And this is an old magazine, right? Like I said, from 1982. And I started reading some stories in this magazine. There's a couple of stories about women and weightlifting, and one of them was especially cool. So I thought I will read this to you because I think it's so cool to see how this was probably around the time where it even became like a little bit of a topic that women are now doing this. Oh my goodness, look at this thing, lifting weights, right? And a couple of women are then sharing their experience, how it has changed them So I want to read this to you. And I will say before I start that there's some words, even because it is an older article, older magazine, I didn't even know what these words mean. Like I think it's called pronounced life, which means supple. And there's one more. Anyways, I had to look these words up. And here's the article. So the title is The Body Shapers. And it starts like this. It works, exclaims one convert, the proud owner of a lithe new body she created in a regimen of weight room exercise like those shown at the left. So there's a picture on the left. You can change any part of your body, the woman insists, if you're ready to put hard work into it. I can't is no longer in my vocabulary. Her words ring with the fervor of the estimated 1 million women like her who have begun working out at home or in the co-ed and women-only gyms that have opened to capitalize on the boom. Gyms aren't a must. Some women lift phone books or canned goods instead of weights. And one Detroit woman uses her 20-pound son as a convenient dumbbell. So this is cool. So we're making moves here. Things are starting to kind of happen. Women are lifting dumbbells, using phone books, using canned goods. I think it's really fun to read. Then there's a little bit about bodybuilding. So it says, if a female bodybuilder is interested in entering competition, she may want that pumping iron look of sharply edged muscle groups, the lats, the abs, and the pecs. But most women are anxious to avoid them. They wish only to transform themselves into embodiments of the sleek, graceful power that has become the decade's new standard of female loveliness. It isn't easy. And now this is the important part, and I think it's really cool. It's kind of like, okay, we're starting to get somewhere here. So it says, running, swimming, and calisthenics all work, but weights and machines get the job done faster and enable a woman to focus on a particular area with different routines for appearance or strength. Once they begin, many women discover increased stamina and a new zip. All your senses are heightened, says New York fashion illustrator Kathy Lee. You're more honed to your body and to your sexuality, even she says. Marketing consultant Michelle Adler insists that the exercise have literally liberated her. I've always been a frustrated actress, she says. In the gym, I get to be this person inside me who can't get out anywhere else. Better yet, she adds, she's learning that if a woman can do it in the gym, she can do it out there. So this is the article. I thought it was really cool. I think it shows like how women were discovering this thing, right? We're discovering, oh, there's such thing as weightlifting, and it changes me internally too, right? Like they say here, I can be the person that I cannot normally be, or I can express the side of me that I actually want to express. So, and then of course they talk about the physique benefits, right? You can sculpt your body, you can build some pecs and abs and lats and all that. So I loved it. I thought it was really great. It was really well written. And there's some pictures here that are just so funny. They're so freaking cheesy. Of women in the gym, they're wearing these, 80s clothing, and they have these funny haircuts and kind of weird looks on their faces. But I can share this here, but I will at some point drop this photo in my Instagram story so you can see. But anyways, I just want to say, I think it's really cool that this movement started to pick up a little bit, and it hasn't been fast, right, since then. Because think about it, it's in 1982, so this is what, 42 years ago now, when things kind of started to shift. But I don't think it really, truly shifted until, when we're talking about the like the common, we're not talking about athletes or bodybuilders, but just everyday women. So when we started going to the gym, that shift is still, I feel like, relatively recent. So anyways, wanted to share this with you because I found this really, really fascinating, really awesome. Okay, so what's next then? What else are we going to talk about today? So now maybe you're feeling like, okay, I am inspired. I want to do this thing too because I hear that it makes you feel better physically, and I know, it's going to make me feel better mentally and emotionally. I want to experience all these things. Is this really true? And I'll say, yeah, it is true. Like how it works, it is true. But these women mentioned in their article, I've experienced the same thing. And when I was at the gym working as a personal trainer, I also saw it several times when women just like they light up when they can lift some heavier weights, when they did something they didn't know they could. What I personally have noticed too is that the way I feel about my training now is way different compared to when I did, for example, lots of hit training or lots of cardio training. And uh, one thing that I notice, and that's especially in comparison to hit training that I used to do a lot of, is that when I did that, I was also very anxious. I still am sometimes anxious. This is how I am. But back then it was always like everything was rushed. Everything had to be done so quickly outside of my workouts too, right? Mind constantly racing, very busy, everything, my schedule packed. It was like I just took this like fast-paced, anxiety filled feeling with me from the workout to outside of my workout to my life. And this is how I lived all the time. So often high alert, busy, busy, busy. It was kind of like the my workouts were kind of like the metaphor, like how I lived my life. And that has changed quite a bit. So now there's a lot more room for just like being and resting and yes, pushing hard when it's time to push hard, but then resting hard too, doing nothing when it's time to do nothing. But then also like the way the workouts make me feel. I remember when I did so much training, it was like I was just exhausted, so tired all the time. And now it's more like, yeah, I am maybe a little bit tired after workout, but it's normal, but I don't feel like exhausted or I can't do anything else. So this is one of the big changes that I have personally experienced from changing these workouts. And of course, compared to cardio, uh, for me, when I did a lot of cardio, it was all centered around calorie burning. I would say that yes, I'm doing it because I'm a marathon runner, but I was a marathon runner because I want to burn calories. So you know it when you start measuring the miles or kilometers that you're running. It's just based on how much weight they help me lose, not am I becoming a better runner? And this is how I was thinking. Now, absolutely not saying that this is everybody. My best friend is running really long races. She this spring, I think she's attempting a 50-kilometer trail run. So, and I know her approach is totally different than mine was. So, definitely not saying that everybody is crazy like I was back then. And a lot of people have it a lot more balanced. But if you are more the way I was, then check in with yourself and see, okay, what are the reasons that you're doing the way you're doing these things? Is your goal to burn calories? Are you getting really obsessed with it? I feel like when I started lifting, then these things really calmed down and there was not anymore this like really panicky mindset to do a million things and go really fast and to obsess about everything. Things are just a lot easier now. It's okay, workout is done and now we're resting. It's not like constantly having to push, move, run more. Like it's not as controlling and as obsessive anymore. For me at least, that's my experience. Okay, so now if you think that I want to get started with this stuff, or maybe you already have gotten started with lifting, you have some experience, but you just don't know what to do. So I want to give you some tips. So let's say that you are a complete beginner, you have never lifted, or maybe you have lifted, but there's been a long break, let's say like 10 years or so since you last lifted anything. For whatever reason, there's been a longer break. So then all you need to get started really is body weight. You can get started very simple with body weight. So this is also strength training. So your day one is not going to look like what I described in the beginning of the podcast, 5 women doing heavy back squats with a barbell at the gym. This is not going to be your day one, and this is absolutely okay. So start wherever you are. If you've never done anything or you've had a very long break, start with just doing 3 sets of 10 squats, right? If you can't do full squats, sit down in a chair and stand up from a chair. You can start with that. You can do things like modified plank hold, right? Where you drop your knees down while staying in the plank position. And you can do things like push ups against the wall. So, this is what I did with my mom last year a lot. So, when I was visiting her last summer, getting started, it's literally how it was hands elevated push ups, some squats, really, really light dumbbell work. And it's okay. This is all you need. And believe me, this was enough for her. She was struggling. It was hard because she hadn't done it. So if you're new, this is your starting point. And this is okay. Wherever you start, it is okay. Don't compare your journey with others. you're going to get stronger. And this is the only thing that really matters. Now, let's say that you're somebody who already has some experience, but you don't know quite exactly what to do. Okay, what do I do? I walk around here at the gym. I try a little bit of this machine, a little bit of that machine. I kind of want to lose that belly fat. So let me see what this ab crunch machine is about. So you do a little bit this and you wander around. So if this is you, then I want to give you 5 exercises to focus on. So let this be your focus. And I've talked about this before. The big five are your squat, barbell or dumbbell squat, then deadlift, overhead press, row, and bench press. So these 5 things, you can write them down: squat, deadlift, row, overhead press, and bench press. Practice these. You don't have to practice them every workout. Pick 2 or 3 to practice per workout. And then the next time you're at the gym, pick the other ones that you didn't do the previous day. And then practice again. Just practice these 5 lifts regularly, and don't worry about the machines. Don't worry about the other things. Don't worry about having to figure everything out at the gym. It doesn't really matter. So let me tell you that the ab crunch machine that you're curious about because you want to burn belly fat is not nearly as important as doing 10 heavy squats, because these heavy squats actually challenge your entire body. It's a lot more functional. Actually, your whole body is engaged and you will burn more body fat. You will build more muscle. Actually, this is more important. You will burn more muscle, which makes the body fat burning easier. So you will build muscle, you burn body fat more effectively versus doing like small single joint movements or like tiny, like one muscle group movements. So let me give you another example. Like if you're thinking about maybe starting doing some biceps curls or overhead triceps extensions, you can, but if you haven't done your deadlift or row or overhead press before yet, then don't do those biceps curls. You're actually wasting your time a little bit, not because they are bad exercise, but because you haven't started from the right place. You haven't done the more important thing first. So these are the guidelines that I want you to get started with. And also another really good tool, I think, is TRX. So if you're new, then TRX can be a really, really great tool to get started. It allows you to do assisted squats, rows, and even push-ups once you get there, or planks and so on. So this is a really great tool for you as well. And the last thing I want to say is that if you are maybe not sure how much you should do, and last thing I want to say is that if you're maybe not sure how much you should do, there is no truly universal guideline that says that everybody must do 3 workouts or 4 workouts, 1 hour each. There are, yes, there are generic guidelines, but we still have to see what is our individual response, right? So, for example, yes, I think on average, it's a good idea if you can get to the gym 3 days a week for about 45 minutes to 1 hour for most people. But at the same time, if you are dealing with, let's say, more stress in your life, there's some season in your life that doesn't that overwhelms you, that your stress is higher than usual. Maybe something up with family, maybe work is absolutely crazy, maybe you're dealing with some health issues, then it may not always be appropriate. So this is why it's a really good idea to work with a coach who can adjust this thing for you. And if you don't work with somebody, you have to pay attention yourself. Maybe there's a time when your energy is super high, you feel like I can do more than that. Cool, and you recover well, this is great. But maybe there's a time where you are, like I said, more stressed out and you find like, okay, this 1 hour workout 3 days a week is actually a little too overwhelming, or I'm not able to recover because I'm not feeling too well. And I've actually just had recently 2 clients that I can think of who felt this way. It actually became a little bit too much for them to do 3 1 hour workouts every week, and they needed less. And it can be scary at first to reduce the workout intensity and or volume, but this is what we did. We dialed it down to 3 30-minute workouts a week, and actually they both lost a little bit of weight and felt better. So it's pretty individual. There is, yes, one guideline, we can talk about that, but also at the end of the day, you have to see what is your individual response, how you recover and how you feel before the next workout, how sore you get. There's a lot of variables that you have to look at and then decide how much you need for this season in your life, because that can change as well. So this was my episode on women in strength training. So we started with some observations in the gym, which I think is really cool to see more and more women lifting. And then hopefully these few tips towards the end of this episode help you to get started if you haven't gotten started, or keep continuing and still listening to your body as you are lifting weights and getting stronger. Okay, so this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Take care.